Good morning, everybody. Today I'll be talking to you about role lighting and creating moods and emotion with lighting. As we all know, we use lighting every day, either whether it be looking for your phone, the flashlight, or your keys under the bed. We also use it for telling ghost stories. You know, we turn the flashlight right here or close, and it's kind of spooky and ambiance feeling. Well, I just want to say, imagine a day without light or your daily life using it. No sunlight, no evening light, none of that, no electricity. What kind of emotions would you really have to be just staring at the dark? What I'll be talking to you about a little bit is how light helps, the intensity, the angle, and the color that it portrays. I got from Bill Gates Norm. He's an article writing called Miracle in the Evening. He says using technology is sometimes difficult in some sense because of natural light plays a big role in a lot of creating emotions. Through artificial lighting, it can be replaced through natural light by showing different angles and different ways of lighting that work. One picture I'm going to show you right now is it's a regular lighting shot from sun going down. It's a natural light. It's actually from a car. Basically, it kind of shows what kind of mood you portray it is, or what it might be. Next one I'm going to show you is color. This one right here, it's a regular phone on a brick wall, but with the color of the lighting that was shot on it, it kind of gives you more of an intense look, more aggressive look. Now these emotions are also different from everybody else. This is not necessarily how you have to feel, but generally this is the kind of feedback I got for the picture. So those are just the two of them that I have right now. I have more I'm going to show you. But just based off of those two, you can kind of get a sense that lighting has more of a role in your everyday life than you think, just looking for your keys or using it to turn on to go to the bathroom, stuff like that. This lighting right here is another natural light. It's actually in our school, one of the 1,000 building, science building. Took it in the evening. Basically, it's just kind of a scary, spooky kind of supposed to be looking like, because it's so dark. Less lighting kind of gives you that intense feeling. And then this one is the early morning shot, which is I just focused on this balcony looking thing, also natural light, sunlight. So going on to color now. Color has a different meaning. Each color has an outstanding different areas, such as pink color gives a festive mood. Dark colors give a more, I guess, obviously darker mood. And then you got your blues, they'll give you that night feeling. Greens, they give you that kind of forest and dirt kind of feeling. And then, last but not least, your angle. Angle has a big key, because if you were just to shine a light from here to just down me, it would almost look like you're just focusing on me and having everything black. If I were to use a certain angle, maybe just half my face, it could give you a kind of a silhouette, thinking, okay, maybe I'm thinking about something, pondering about something. And those are just the kind of ideas of lighting. A lot of these lightings come from stage lighting, but you can also use it at your house. I've seen a lot of Facebook pictures. People use it daily. Instagram is another one that does it. And now we know a little bit about different stages in lighting. I just wanted to inform you guys that the first lighting that was ever used was back in 1580 through 1618, and they used that for candlelights for actually classrooms. So hopefully brighten up your day a little bit with this lighting demonstration. Thank you.
Mauricio, what did you think?
For negative, there's vague definitions or walking definition and a little bit of reading. But for good, it was a good intro. It was smooth, clear statement, good imagery, and good citing of sources. What's that?
Gesundheit. All right, Christopher, I think you need a little bit more context for the subject, the way you're talking about it. It sounds like it's going to be generally about lighting, and then it turns into being particularly about photography. So if it's going to be about photography and the angles that you're taking pictures at, I think that you ought to add some more photographic information into the presentation. I think that there isn't any attention device in the speech whatsoever. You start off with basically your purpose statement, and that feels very awkward. There's no lead into the subject matter to try and pull us in. I think that you've got an idea there that comes up a little bit later, but it feels like it's after the fact rather than being used to get our attention. It's a sort of an explanation as to why you're talking about this subject after you've told us what the subject is. You do preview the secondary points, but you rush through it, and I'm not sure that all of those points are very clearly explained. They just sound like one-word phrases, and I'm not sure what each of those words is going to mean. So I think you need to have the sentences a little bit more complete, and they need to include a little bit of detail so that we know what's going to be on those individual points. I thought you started off pretty well with a good quote talking about the issues of lighting, but that was the last reference I heard to any of the sources that you used in the presentation, and I think if you had additional sources, you neglected to include them in the presentation, and I think you want to be more consistent about that. It's structured topically, like I said before, but those terms are not really very clear as to what it is we're going to get on each point. And similar to what we had with the previous speech, sometimes it just feels like you stop and then you're starting another point, and there's not really much of a transition. There is some identification that those points have moved, but it's not very smooth. The pictures, I think, are okay. You do have a tendency to focus on the photographs, though. Remember, they're there to illustrate the concept that you're talking about rather than be the subject of the presentation. So it would make sense, for instance, if you introduced the idea of lighting from a particular area or background or angle, had some information about the mood that is supposed to create, then showed us the picture that reflected that particular thing, and then you could maybe tell your story about taking the photograph as well. At the end, there's a brief reference to historical use of lighting. The idea that we didn't have any lighting until the 15th century, that seems a little bit strange to me. I'm not sure about that one, and it just seems like it's dropped in there for no reason. There's no context, there's no explanation. I'm not sure why it was suddenly appearing in the speech there. That might, maybe it would have been a good attention device, or maybe it would have been an interesting way to finish up the speech if you had set it up a little bit more, but it just feels like it's out of nowhere and suddenly it's part of the presentation. The pictures, I think, are all nice and large. They illustrate the concepts that you're talking about pretty well. They're actually the strongest part of the presentation, but like I said, sometimes I think that you are focusing on the pictures rather than on the concepts behind the pictures, and that's a little bit problematic. The large page in your hand, it looks a little bit awkward. You might want to take your hat off while you're giving the speech. Try not to lean on the desk while you're giving the talk, that kind of thing. You were up against it. I didn't really see you leaning on it too much, but it's almost like you're backing into it. You want to be careful about that.
Okay.
At least you didn't sit on it.